He's flying the ship or having Jordy or somebody fly the ship. And Jordy was like, we're lost. We don't know where to go. And he's like, no, turn right over here past that mountain. And the woman as left was the counselor, Troy. She's an empath. She can read minds. And she talked to him later. She said, you had no idea where you were going. Why would you tell them to turn right? He said, yeah, but as a captain, they don't need to know that I'm lost. I'm like, they need to know that they can depend on me. Women and men need each other. I mean, we're not whole without the other one. We think differently. We're equal. We're not equitable. We don't think the same way because we shouldn't. The world would suck if we were all men and we all thought the same way. I mean, it would just be bam like that. But women have this kind of emotional appeal that sometimes we need to consider. We need to think that way, but there's a time and place. I'll give an example. We're getting screwed over by a dealership here locally that, it's just a long story. We bought a car, a van that was only a couple of years old, and it automatically, the very first day, starts having electrical issues. Well, then the transmission goes out, and then they want us to pay for it. My wife brings up, and they're done with it now. After 7 months of them having the vehicle, they're finally done with it. And now they're complaining because it's still there and we haven't paid for it yet. And my wife said, well, let's just go ahead and, send it back and see if we can get a vehicle here and stuff. Cause she was thinking we're going to be without a van. Cause I filed an appeal with the commission. And I told her, I was like, honey, I understand that you want that the need is to do that because you're scared this is going to happen. Emotional thinking. I said, but we are okay now. We have my truck. We were forced to buy another vehicle because we've been waiting 7 months for this vehicle. So, we were trying to be a one vehicle family. But we have my truck. I was like, we're okay. I was like, let's wait to see what things happen. But that's the difference, is that she was wanting something now, kind of like food stamps. I need it now because I want to take care of my family. I'm afraid if you don't work, then how can I do this? We know, like me, I've always known I'd have a job. It's just, I've never been unemployed for longer than 2 weeks. And that's because I was going through the hiring process, and that's with me.
You're a man.
Yeah. That's with me having as many surgeries as I've had. I've had 7 surgeries, major surgeries that put me out of work. The least amount of time was like 2 months, but the others took me out of work for a year, 2 years, and I still had a job, but I was out of work, but I'm still employed. I still found a way to get money to come in. It's just that's what I do. That's what I am.
That's why I'm very careful. That's why I'm very careful with that word equal.
Yeah.
Now I will agree, man and woman, we're equal as far as opportunity. We should be granted the same opportunity, but just because we're equal, it doesn't guarantee you the same outcome. Like this week, I did 68 hours this week. The average woman cannot handle and do what I do. She just can't. I have trained women, they've been gone in 2 days. Some have gone on the first day. But just because you're saying, okay, well, I want to be equal, I found that a lot of women, especially in our community, want the same amount of pay for less work. They want the benefits of a man. They want to be able to move like a man, but they don't want to be responsible for none of them. And that's what's crazy to me. The average man, like you're saying, you have to go to work regardless of your back surgeries, regardless of whatever you have going on. You have to provide. On the flip side of that, a woman is being provided for. A lot of women complain about being women, but most of your life you're being provided for. You see?
Yeah. I mean, you're most men. In fact, there's tons of videos of women saying, "I will not be with a broke man. I won't date somebody that doesn't have a job. I've never even thought about a woman's job ever."
Yeah, because you are a provider. You are
now,
a
granted,
provider.
am I a little more vain? Yeah, probably. I mean, men do tend to be a little more vain about things. But women are just as vain, and some women are just as vain. I mean, like, I won't date a fat guy. Make fun of them for being fat. Or what bothered me, because I was always skinny growing up, is when they'd call me skinny and stuff like it. I'm like, that's the same thing as calling a girl fat, calling a man skinny, because our bravado has been hurt. You've hurt my ego. We don't, skinny means weak, and we don't like being called weak, at least the way I grew up, but now, of course I'm Gen X. So, I mean, men now are boys, they can't handle it. They're just, they're effeminate. They're just crying and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not saying it's okay for a man to cry in the right context at the right time.
Don't ever do it in front of a woman.
Say that again.
And the way I look at it, I try not to. I tell most of my friends, don't ever do it in front of a woman. If you got to cry, do it in front of one of some of your friends, some male friends.
Yeah. If you
because
did,
a woman,
oh, go ahead. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, I said because a woman will see that no matter what she tell you, she gonna see that as weakness at some point.
You have to, and I think, and don't get me wrong. What people do is they attack the outliers and say, "Well, it's not true because of this." We're overgeneralizing. Obviously, there are going to be women that are perfectly fine with it. In fact, today's age, you're going to find a liberal woman that will be okay. I don't know a conservative woman at all that would be okay with a man being weak. Because they're supposed to be strong. But like my wife didn't see me cry until about a year ago. It was the first time and she'd been to funerals with me of my own friends that had died, officers that had got killed on duty and stuff, things that were emotional. I just didn't do it. And the reason being isn't because I'm all, trying to act tough. Because if you can't depend on me to hold my emotions, then when something really goes down, can you depend on me then? I mean, am I going to be able to protect my family when things go down, when things are wrong? And it's not that I'm expecting things will. I believe in being prepared. Just like you keep a fire extinguisher in your car or a spare tire in your car, it's not like you're saying this is going to happen. But
it's just a matter of time. It will.
Yeah, I carry a gun with me all the time. Why? Because the situation when somebody needs a gun, it's usually that place that nobody has guns.
Correct. That's true.
That's why the person's using a gun. It's because nobody has guns. And I learned that very quickly as a police officer. It's like when that shooting happened at that theater in Colorado at the Batman showing, I was a deputy. And the reason why, as soon as that happened, let me back it up and say it in reverse. As soon as that happened, theaters throughout the country started putting no guns allowed signs, right? The irony of it is when that happened, it was because it was the only theater like in 25 or 50 miles that had a no guns allowed sign. Everybody else didn't have a sign. So he knew that this was open targets. This is soft targets, but as a man, I think like that, my job, I'm always, you can't surprise me because I'm always thinking something could happen at any time. I want to be prepared if something happens. That's why when anything goes down, I don't freak out. It's because I can't. It's funny. I heard this the other day and it was actually kind of smart. It was off Star Trek though, so forgive me. But Jean-Luc Picard, which is the captain of Star Trek, he's flying the ship or having Geordi or somebody fly the ship. And Geordi was like, "We're lost. We don't know where to go." And he's like, "No, turn right over here past that mountain." And the woman as left was the counselor, Troy. She's an empath. She can read minds. And she talked to him later. She said, "You had no idea where you were going. Why would you tell them to turn right?" He said, "Yeah, but as a captain, they don't need to know that I'm lost." I'm like, they need to know that they can depend on me. And that's the truth. That's why cops tend to act like they know everything. It's because they're trained. We're trained to do that. And people still don't understand. I had a guy getting up butthurt on my YouTube thing about, because I said that we tend to look at everybody because we've seen the worst and the best of people. We look at everybody and we're prepared. So we talk to people as if they could. Well, he's like basically saying that I'm using it as an excuse to be shitty to people. I didn't say I was shitty to people. I was actually very nice. In fact, I'd arrest people, and I've more than once been told I was the nicest asshole they had ever met. But but it's because I knew how to do what's right, but still be polite. But our job as men are that way, and I don't think it makes you a chauvinist because I'm not saying I'm better. I asked my son. I told him, I'm the head of the household, and I asked he's my stepson, but he asked me, what does that mean? I'm like, what do you think it means? He said, it means that you get to eat first. It's like, no, not at all. I was like, head of household simply means that all the responsibilities are on my shoulders. I was like, I'm not better than your mom. Your mom is still part of the decision-making process. But in the end, if there's a problem, it's my job to make sure it's fixed.
Right.
That's just simple as that. No better, no worse than anybody else. But my kids, my wife, my dogs, they get fed first. I train my kids to make sure them dogs eat before they do. Why? Because them dogs can't take care of themselves. We're not in the wild. You know? But you don't get that training a lot of times when you're in single mother homes because they're already stressed as it is. It's not that they're bad people. It's not that they're weak. Single mothers can be some of the strongest women I've ever met, and I'm super proud of them, but still they need a male figure in the house. I actually talked to a guy that was gay and a liberal. And and incredibly white, and he said it was impossible for white people to be or black people to be racist. He's that guy. However, he did tell me something that I was shocked, because you can always find something that you agree with. He said that, and I'm not saying whether I agree or disagree, I'm just saying there's always something that will throw you off. Right. He said that he was a nanny in New York City for this gay couple, 2 men, and he was a nanny for their kids. He said, I am totally against, after that experience, of gay men or homosexuals of having kids. He really believed it. And he said the reason being, he said, because they need a man and a woman in the house. Correct. He said, if they don't get that, they get it. You lose that sense of, because we're male and we're male and feminine. We do have feminine side. I mean, it's just part of us. You know, we have estrogen. We're just mostly testosterone. You know, women have testosterone. They're just mostly estrogen. You know, we're a part of each other. You know, we complement each other. They can do what we can't, and we can do what they can't.
Like yin and yang.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But it's the society is done just like they have with races. They made it, instead of like complementary, they made it where we're antagonistic. That you know, you're saying one's better than the other, and you know, this is, you know, like no, just, you know, go ahead.
No. You know, that's the plot, and I've seen this over the past time since I have been able to vote. That mostly comes from the Democratic Party. They want to keep people separated, because if you start to unify, then they know they probably wouldn't get no votes. And the reason why I say that is because usually most of the women that I know, they vote Democrat, and their husbands usually do what they do. They usually follow behind them, because they don't want the unnecessary, you know, backlash that coming with, well, look, I'm gonna vote Republican. No, you know what? Just to keep everything kosher, I'm just gonna vote with whatever you go with. Yeah. So, and they know that the Democratic Party, they are very great at deceptive practices. You know, this party will go to whatever length they can. Just look at what they're doing to Donald Trump now. I've never seen a president more attacked, more hit at than this man hit my life. I mean, you would have thought this man did Watergate 3.0, the way he's been attacked.
Yeah. Do you still talk about, like, do you post about Obama all the time and put pictures of memes about Obama and put it on your thing? If you're an Obama supporter, then, you know, quit talking to me. None of us did that at all.
No, I don't do that.
I mean, once the president's gone, you just kind of quit talking about it. You know, you might compare this president with the last president, but other than that, I mean, the overall consensus is it's over, it's done. You know, but they are still talking about it. They're still after him. Why? Because he was supposed to win. He was supposed to be taken out in 2016. They cheated then. You know, and I was very slow to use the word cheat. I said that we should be able to look into something. But now it's gone so long, and I've seen so much evidence. Because I've even said, I don't care if Donald Trump was the winner and they believed he cheated. Look into it. In 2016, they should have looked into it. Do you know why they didn't? Because they knew if they looked into it, we would find out that they cheated. And so they said,
they're correct.
And so all they would do is do mouth.
Right. And the thing about it is, man, I try to tell a lot of people to look at this. I'm in Georgia, I'm in Atlanta, and it's no way, even if you just add up the population in Fulton County, it is no way a county like Fulton should be able to decide an election when Trump won basically the rest of the state. But it's one little state like Fulton. It's not that many people in Fulton County. You know, only thing I can think of, man, is they have to been cheating some type of way, because there's no way Trump lost Georgia. No way.
Yeah. They that tour that I'm on, I've got to meet a lot of people. One of them is a gentleman by the name of Seth Keshel. He is a very brilliant person. He was in the military. He's a captain, I believe. I think he was a captain, lieutenant, or a captain. I think he was a captain. Anyway, he decided to run numbers on the voting and the population and everything. And he started seeing a lot of irregularities. And of course, he'll say it way better than me. But I'll give an example. He actually said that every single state had irregularities, some major ones.
Yeah, that's what I think.
But the ones that were the big states were the ones that they really did it. The ones that made the swing states that made the biggest impact.
Right.
He said,
Georgia's one of them.
Yeah, we were in Colorado Springs. He said, here in this state, here in this county, he said, typically the whole county only has about 150,000 voters. Now I'm rough estimate of what he said. It was basically this. So the exact numbers are not this, but I don't want to get caught saying something that wasn't accurate.
Right.
But the general consensus is, he said there was 150,000 voters total. That means both sides, everybody voting, 150,000 voters. He said during this last election, Biden got 450,000 votes out of that county. Tell me that's not messed up.
Yeah. It's just no way that can work.
Yeah, and he said even in red states that were like Oklahoma, he said there was even irregularities there. You know, it's just that they weren't big enough to make a big difference. You know, it didn't change things. You know, but that's what they did differently in 2016. They voted, and I bet you it was with the voting machines that they cheated also, but they didn't do mail-in ballots. They didn't have that.
I don't like that. And I don't like that mail-in ballot thing.
They needed an excuse to have mail-in ballots because mail-in ballots was so easy to cheat. And so it was. And let's assume COVID, everything was completely 100% legit. Let's assume that. So they just used that excuse. Just like I say, I've said it before, the government, never underestimate a good catastrophe when it comes to the government. You know, they will use it. You know, don't let a good catastrophe go to waste. In 2001, we had 9/11, right? Well, what came out of 9/11? The Patriot Act. The Patriot Act made it where they did something completely unconstitutional. It's not right. It should not have happened. I don't care if you are a terrorist, you still have constitutional rights. Constitutional rights means born with. If you're religious, it means God-given. But if you're not, it just means you're born with. The fact that you were born gives you these rights. Inalienable.
Right.
They said that if you're considered a terrorist or an insurrectionist or try to overtake the government, that you no longer have rights. That's what they said. That's why they kept calling them insurrectionists, because when you did, and I talked to attorney friends of mine, one's an international human rights attorney, and she was very agreeable with it. And I can't believe people don't even talk about this. I mean, nobody's ever mentioned this. You know, I haven't heard the word Patriot Act said at all. I was actually at the January 6th. I was feet from this Capitol. I have bullets, rubber bullets that I keep that I got shot with.
Right.
You know, I saw firsthand the corruptness in what they were doing. You know, I'm trained as in riot control, which means that I also know how to start a riot. I know what you would do to get the riot worse. And they were doing everything to get the riot worse. And the first thing they did was allow people to come in, and then give them for trespassing. You allowed them in a public building. Why wouldn't they think they're allowed in? You know, but you know, everything is done for a reason. They use the insurrection. So they will constantly use any kind of bad situation to fill their pocketbooks or to give them more power. Thank you for sticking around till the end. Hopefully I left you either enlightened, lightened, or moved by the experience. If you enjoyed what you saw, could you hit that like and subscribe button right there? And if you didn't, could you still hit that like and subscribe button right there so somebody else has the opportunity to not like what they saw? Thank you.